Oh, hello. I'll just unmute you.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
Hello.
Okay. Thank you so much, Matthew, for joining grade 4. I know Celine and Linda wrote you an email and you replied to them.
Yeah.
So we have been investigating many adventurers and we were very interested about your story. So I will let the girls share with you what they have written before we have any specific questions. So Celine, are you ready?
Thank you for joining us on our online Zoom meeting call. In this unit, we are learning about explorers. Our teacher showed us a very nice video of you on your way to the South Pole. We really enjoyed watching it. Can you tell us how you did it?
So the question was, how did I do it?
Yes.
So basically, the video you saw, it happened a year and a half ago. I started to walk all the way from the coast of Antarctica to the South Pole. You know, Antarctica is the biggest polar continent we have. It's all the way south of our planet. And my idea was to reach the South Pole because I was fascinated by this point on Earth. It's the axis of rotation of the planet. You know that the Earth, it turns around itself and it turns along an axis. And this axis is the North Pole and the South Pole. And my plan was to reach this point because I was quite interested to see how it was there. And there was, I will tell you a bit more what was there. There was not much to be found, but I just had this idea of being the only human being on this axis of rotation. And it's just an idea I had in my head and that never came out. So my plan was to walk from the coast of this continent, Antarctica, to reach the South Pole, and it took me 50 days, 50, so nearly 2 months to reach the South Pole. And I can be more specific about the expedition after, if you have more questions regarding this specific expedition.
So who would like to ask a question next? Who has a question? Do you have more to ask Celine and Linda? Not yet. Okay. Stefan, what's your question?
I have more than one question.
Yep.
But my first question is, what was it like to not shower for 51 days?
So you might have read, or maybe your teacher told you that indeed I didn't shower for 50 days. It's not something I wished for. It's not very pleasant, as you can imagine, but you have to understand that in Antarctica, it's not like at home. There's no water tap you can find, so you have to make your own water. And to make water, you have to melt it. So it means that you have to use a stove, something that heats the snow and the ice. And with a flame, with a fire, you will melt the snow, and you will get melted water, so liquid water. But it takes a while to do. It takes a lot of energy as well. To power this stove, I use fuel, and this fuel is heavy. So you use like very precious resources, and making water is a lengthy process and something that you don't get in a click of finger. So I didn't have an unlimited amount of liquid water. So I was using this water for my food, was using it to drink as well, but I wasn't using it to shower because I didn't have enough fuel to melt enough water. So that's the reason why I didn't shower. I had like some wet wipes, like wipes you can use for babies. I had this with me, so I could I could wash myself a little bit, but it wasn't as good as a shower, of course. And to answer more precisely a question, what was it like? It was weird. I'm very happy now that I'm back that I can take showers every day and change my clothes every day. But when I was there, it was very annoying for the first 2 weeks or first 3 weeks maybe, because you stink, because you have the same clothes. But after a while, after a few weeks, you tend to forget a little bit. Your brain has understood that you will not have a shower before completing the expedition, and your body just adjusts to this new normal, and you don't get. You get dirtier and dirtier, but it's not like you don't get 10 times more dirtier. At some point, you reach a point where you're dirty and you don't get very much dirtier. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but the first weeks were painful. And after that, I just accepted it. And the first shower I took when I went back home was the best shower in my life, as you can imagine.
Thanks, Stefan. Did you have another question before I ask somebody else?
Yeah, I have 7 other questions.
Okay, I'll try to answer quickly then.
Maybe one more, then I'll ask someone else.
Okay. Who inspired you to go to the South Pole?
So who inspired me to go to the South Pole? As you might know, this continent has been unexplored for many, many years and centuries. And the first people who explored this continent were a Norwegian and a Brit. And they reached the South Pole for the first time in 1911. So it's a bit more than 100 years ago. So as you can see, it's very recent history. If you look at the whole history, we know the history of polar exploration is fairly recent. And when I was your age, I was reading stories about these explorers who explored the Arctic, Antarctica. And I was, like I told you, I was fascinated by these vast, empty polar deserts. And with these readings, when I grew up, I have always wanted to set my foot on this continent. And I started going to the Arctic because it was closer from my home. I'm based in France, so it was closer from me. So I went to Norway, I went to Iceland, I went to Greenland as well to train for this expedition. And after that, when I was ready, I went to Antarctica. But what inspired me is definitely the readings of previous explorers.
Thank you, Stefan. Who else has a question? Caleb.
How did it feel when you reached the South Pole?
So how did it feel? You maybe you see it a little bit on the video, but you have to imagine that I have walked for 50 days and 3 hours without stopping. I mean, I was stopping every day to sleep, but I didn't have a single rest day. It was not. I didn't expect that, but the weather was not very good on the first half of the expedition. So I had a little bit of I was a bit late on my schedule, so I didn't stop for a rest day. So I was pretty exhausted when I reached the South Pole. I was tired, both physically because I was dragging this big sled you've seen with all my food, my equipment. And I was tired mentally, psychologically as well, because it's a place, as you have seen, that is very empty. There's no animals. The only animals are based on the coast of the continent. So there are penguins, there are whales, the birds and fish. But on the center of the continent, it's the emptiest place you can imagine. So there was nothing. So psychologically, it was a bit tiring to just walk in a place where there's nothing. There's no, not much colors. There's just like white and blue for the sky. There's no animals. There's no mountains I saw on the way. So I was tired, obviously. I was very proud to reach the end goal of my expedition, to have not quit before. So it was a bit of a mixed feelings of pride, of tiredness and happiness as well, because it was the end of a long walk, but the end also of a long dream I had for a long time.
Yeah, we watched the video that the Guinness World Record recorded you, and it
Yeah.
had where you spoke to your mum, and you
Oh,
could
yeah.
say that she said that you were a hero. So that was like an exciting moment. Who else has a question? Let's see. Let me see if I can just go to the other page because we've got 2 pages here.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Isaiah, can you ask your question? Are you there, Isaiah?
The expedition to the South Pole, did you have any maps? And did you think you would make it to the South Pole in the beginning? And did you first want to do the expedition assisted? And at first, did you want to do the expedition supported?
All right, so 2 questions here. About the maps, Antarctica is a very vast continent. It's as large as Europe, or it's as vast as the USA and China. So you have to imagine that it's a very, very large continent, mostly covered by ice and snow. So it's a bit difficult to have big maps of this continent, and there's not many people there. There's just scientific station along the coast mostly. So it's hard to have very accurate maps of this continent. We have satellite images, which help to know where the biggest crevasses are or where the big mountains are, but it's not as precise as Singapore, for instance, or Paris here. You don't have such detail. So I had a GPS. GPS, you know, this little device that helps to locate yourself, to know exactly where you are. But I was located on a big amount of snow, you know, in a big white desert. So I knew where I was in this desert, but it was a bit hard to navigate because I had to follow a course. You know, when you have a compass, you have a course. With a GPS, so it's the same. You have a course, and you need to follow this way if you want to reach the end point, which was the South Pole. So no maps, GPS. And regarding your second question, I did it unsupported. So it meant that I didn't have any kind of resupply of food along the way. So when I started my trek, when I started to ski from the coast, I had everything I needed in a big sled, in this big thing I was dragging behind me. And in this sled, there was all my food for 50 days. There was my tent, my stove, fuel. I told you the fuel was used to power the stove and melt the water. So it was crucial to carry enough fuel. And GPS and camera to make the film you saw. So all this when it was in this big sled, and my plan was not to get any resupply of food along the way. It would have been something possible, but it's a bit harder to organize because you need to send a plane that will bury food on the way, and then you need to find this food. So I wanted to do an expedition a bit like in the early days, a bit like the explorers I read the story from, and I decided to go and support it. Obviously, you've understood it. It's a bit harder because you need to carry all the food for the whole way, so it's heavier. But to me, it was the way to do it, and I decided to go and support it.
Okay, so there are definitely more questions. How much time do you have? How many more questions can we go?
I have some time. So
okay, all right, Apple, I saw your hand waving. We'll go with Apple next.
So, is the temperature different inside the tent and outside, or is it like not different, like all cold, same temperature?
So temperatures, it depends on where you are in the continent. It's again, it's a very large continent, and the South Pole might surprise you, but it's 3,000 meters high of altitude. So when you stand at the South Pole, you are 3 kilometers above the sea level. So you're pretty high in altitude, and my whole expedition was all the way up, if you understand how it was. So when you are in altitude, it's colder, obviously. There's less oxygen, and it's just colder than when you are around the coast. So it depended where I was in Antarctica, but the temperatures, they they varied between maybe -5 degrees Celsius all the way down to -40, -45. And it was definitely warmer in the tent, because when you're inside the tent, the sun creates some sort of a greenhouse effect, and you just warmer in the tent, and the difference could be maybe 15 to 20 degrees. So it might be -30 outside, and it could be -10 in your tent, or -5. So it's still cold, but it's not the same cold as it is outside. So it's definitely a good shelter.
Okay, thank you, Apple. Did I see Peter with his hand up? Where are you? Are you still there, Peter? Changing screens. Yes, did you have your hand up, Peter? Yeah.
Were there any other problem than like mental problem, like physical problems?
So physical problem, I did okay. I trained a lot before going on this expedition. I told you I did many small expeditions to train myself to carry this big sled, also to train myself on camping in freezing temperatures. So physically, I did okay. I had some little frostbite on the cheek, which were not too severe. It was just superficial. It was because I didn't put my face mask correctly, and with the wind, it started to freeze. But it was just like a blister, something you can get with the skin getting weak, and I had like some sort of a blister. So nothing major, nothing too serious. Psychologically, I felt strong still. I was tired, but still felt strong when I arrived at the South Pole. There were people following my progress. There were schools and teachers like you following my progress, and I was sending Q&A when I was walking to the South Pole, and I was sharing my adventure live. I was sending one photo a day with a little text, so that kept me sane in a way, because I knew that people were following. I was sharing while I was walking to the South Pole. Every night I was sending these little updates, so it helped me to to keep sane, and so psychologically I felt okay. I wouldn't have walked for 50 more days, but I was all right when I arrived.
Thank you, Peter. Sion, did you have a question? Is your hand up?
Yeah. My question is like, just wait a second. What do you plan to do now that you completed your expedition?
So now I came back a year ago, as I told you. It's been a bit of a roller coaster since I came back, because I went on this expedition because it was a dream of mine, and because there was a bit of media that were interested in this trip. I have been doing conferences about this expedition, but also about Antarctica, and I will talk to you a bit more about this continent if you like. But I did a lot of speaking in schools and in companies to talk about this big expedition I made, and I did a film for television as well. So it was lots of work to share this story, and now I'm still sharing it, because I'm writing a book about this expedition. First it will be in French, and I hope it will be translated at some point in English. But I'm still writing this book, and trust me, it's a bit of an adventure as well, because you need to rethink about the whole thing and try to find the right words. And I'm not a writer; it's on my job, and so it's a bit of a hard task, but I'm quite happy to do it. So what's next for me? There's this book that will be released at the end of this year. And in my mind, I have lots of adventures ideas. I'm not sure where I'll head next, but I have lots of projects. So I don't have a lack of project and ideas. So I'm not sure, but there will be more adventures for sure.
Thank you, Vishruit. I can see you've got a question there. You got a question, Vishruit?
I'm trying to remember it.
Okay. All right, let's see. I'll just go to the next page and see if anyone has their hand up before I go back to Stefan, because I know you said you had 7. Oh, have you got a question, Amin, or you just wrote? Yes?
I only have one question because like the other ones were kind of stolen.
Okay.
But how did you react when you got to your destination?
So how did I react when I got to the South Pole? First, at the South Pole, there is a scientific station you might have seen in the video. So I wasn't alone. At the South Pole, there is an American-based station where scientists work. And when I was there, there was about 50 people working at the station. They all study the ice, they all study the weather, they all study the stars when it's the winter, because when it's winter time, it's dark the whole day. When it's summertime, which was the time when I was in Antarctica, you've seen there's the sun in the sky all the day. So it's 24-hour daylight when I was there. So they do studies about the weather and the environment at the South Pole. So how did I react? Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Yeah, because how did I react? Again, it was the end of a long expedition. I was very relieved and happy to have reached my end goal, to be able to, stop walking and be able to go home and having lived something incredible experience. There was a bit of a weird sensation, a weird feeling when I realized that it was the end, that I will head home. I was both happy, but I was a little bit nostalgic in a way, because it was the end of like years of preparation and dreaming, and I didn't know what I will be doing next. So it was a bit of a, very happy, but at the same time a bit scared about what I'm gonna do afterwards. But basically it was mostly happiness, and very happy to see other human beings and be able to talk to someone, and sit on a chair, and don't eat the same food every day. So it was a bit reconnecting to normal life, and it was very, very pleasant.
Thank you. Vashrut, have you remembered your question?
Yes. How did you come back? How did you
Good
come
question.
back?
How did I come back? Because obviously there's no airports like you might have in Singapore or in Paris. There's no trains. There's nothing in Antarctica. So you need to organize everything in advance. But luckily, with this station at the South Pole, there was a plane that was doing the connection between the South Pole and the coast once a week. And I stayed 1 week at the pole waiting for this plane, because when I arrived, it had just left. And I stayed 1 week, and when the plane came back, I just hopped on the plane with other people, and we flew back to the coast. And it took us 3 hours and a half to do the trip. There was more than 1,000 kilometers. I've walked for 1,200 kilometers in total. I don't know if you guys do miles in Singapore, but it's about 700 miles. And the plane, took us back to the coast. And after that, I took another plane to go to Chile in South America. And from South America, I took commercial airlines to go back to France. But it's a very long trip.
Okay, let me have a look. Who else? I know, Stefan, you want to ask a couple more questions. Was there anybody else that has their hand up? Let's just have a quick look. I'll just scroll back. I think you're the lucky one, Stefan. You can ask away.
Okay. I want to start with 2 very easy questions.
Yep.
Where were you born?
Where was I born? So I was born in Normandy. It's in France, not far away from Paris. So I'm fully French, but I might have a little bit of a British accent with my English, because I studied in the UK, in London. I did my bachelor's and the first year of my master's in London, in the British University. But I was born in France, in a city called Rouen. It's in Normandy.
My second question is how old are you?
So how old am I? Now I'm 28 years old, and when I started my expedition, I was 26, and I spent 2 months walking to the South Pole. And during this 2 month period, I have spent my birthday. I don't know how you call it, passed, or I got 27 years old during the expedition. So it was my birthday during the expedition, and I was also there for Christmas and the New Year's.
Okay, Shatana, you said you had a question, but I didn't see you because your camera is not on. Are you still there? You can ask your question now if you'd like, but I can't see you. Your screen is black. Oh, there you are. Okay. Did you want to ask your question, Shatanya? Yes? Okay.
This is my question. Who inspired you to become an adventurer?
So who inspired me? I've answered a little bit before, but it's previous explorers, previous person who have done expeditions, whether in Antarctica or somewhere else. And I was just inspired to do a little bit the same and to experience what they experienced. And Antarctica has been discovered a bit more than 100 years ago, and I wanted to experience it for myself because I'm not a scientist. I couldn't go on a station just to work. So I wanted to do a big trek, and I've always done sports and camping trips, and to me it was a way to join everything I liked in life: outdoors and sports and exploration of a place that I was fascinated by for a long time. So mostly previous explorers inspired me to do this expedition.
Okay, let me just check. Are there any other questions? Nobody else? Shu, do you have your hand up? No? Okay. What about Celine or Linda? Any other questions that you have? I can't see. Oh, Stefan, you're still waving your hand. Do you have any more? What's your last one?
My last question is, what does it feel like to hold a Guinness World Record?
What does it feel like? It's not something I had looked for. When I left on this expedition, I didn't think to myself, oh, I'll do this to get the Guinness World Record. It wasn't my goal. It wasn't my motivation. It's not something I had looked for actively at all. I did this expedition because I was passionate by it. I wanted to complete this dream. So if there was no Guinness World Record, it would not change much for me. It was when I realized that I was actually the youngest in the world, and I was eligible to get this record. I was very happy, obviously, because I've been reading this book when I was a kid. I'm sure you guys have had this book in your hands once, and there's lots of weird records and all incredible expeditions and adventures and feats and projects. So I was quite surprised. I was quite happy as well, because that's something that is significant for any of us. Like we all understand what it is, and for my my activity of speaking, my speaking activity in schools and in companies and enterprises, it helps because people can refer to it. But it's not something I actively looked for. It's something that happened afterwards, and it was the cherry on the cake, as we say. I was very happy to get it. But records are made to be broken. So I encourage younger people and to get on their own adventures and try to beat it. And
yes,
I will be very happy.
I'm going to say that you said that on your video, that records are to be broken. So
yeah,
grade 4, that's all of you. One day you might also reach somewhere like the South Pole.
No, it's gonna be too cold. We're gonna die.
Okay.
We're all gonna die.
Stay on mute, please. Amin, do you have any questions? You might have to be the last one. because our school day is coming to a close here, even though we're on home learning.
Yep.
Do you have your last question that you'd like to ask, Matthieu?
Myself?
Oh no, I'm just asking Amin if he. Do you have
sorry.
a question? I think he's nodding. Yeah.
Mm.
No. Yes. Yes. Okay. It's back and forth on the screens. Yes. Okay. Off you go.
Okay. I forgot.
Okay. All right. Did you have any questions for the grade fours? Then I'll switch it back to you. Otherwise, I don't think there's any other questions. We've got lots of things that you've shared with us. It's been wonderful. They've been very excited leading up to this time to hear the real life account from you.
No, I was glad to.
Bear, I remember it now.
Okay.
Go for it.
Was it challenging to like go to the South Pole?
So telling you no would be lying. It's of course challenging for many reasons. Obviously, you've seen it's very cold. It's very windy. It's very dry environment. Being by yourself means that you have to carry all your supplies with you, so it's very heavy. So you can't go very fast. So it was definitely challenging. You know, there's been very few expedition reaching the South Pole solo, because it's hard to organize. It's hard to get the sponsors. It's a hard place to reach. There's many things that make it challenging. But if you have your enough motivation, if you train properly, anything's possible. But it's definitely challenging. It's harder than a trek in Asia or in Europe, because it's very far away and it's very, very cold, obviously. So there's many things that are put in your way, and you need to overcome these difficulties. But definitely the cold, the wind, and the fact that it's very far and difficult to reach make it more challenging than ever.
Okay, I think, did Aki have a question? I cannot see you on the screen, but where are you? Stefan said you had a question. No, still there or not there?
Aki's there.
Okay, I cannot, sorry, I can't see you, Aki. If you have a question, off you go. Oh, there you are in the bottom corner. Sorry, I missed you. Off you go.
So why did you decide to be going on your own? Maybe you can just like bring somebody, like only like the person who brings your food. So, but why do you choose yourself to go solo?
So it's a good question. I tried to answer before, but maybe it wasn't clear enough. But I chose to go solo because it's something I wanted to experience. It's not because I didn't find anyone. I didn't really look for a friend or someone with me to come with me. I was very interested in being solo for such a long amount of time. I'm not solitary in my life, you know, I have many friends, I have a large family, but I thought that being solo for a long amount of time would be interested on a personal side, on a personal point of view, because I thought it was a way for me to know myself better. And it's an experience I wanted to do, because if you have to be solo once in your life, I think Antarctica is an interesting place to be, because it's not a world we know, because it's all white, it's all desert. So I thought it would be an interesting experience, and it definitely was. And I wanted to do it solo because I was curious to live this solitude. I'm sure with a friend or with other people, it would have been very interesting as well, but it would have been totally different. I don't know if it would have been easier, because when you're with other people, you need to agree on everything. Being solo was quite pleasant at some time, at some stage, because, I took all my decisions and I was responsible for them. And I was doing what I wanted. If I wanted to ski, I was skiing. If I wanted to stop, I was stopping. So it was interesting, and it's an experience. It's a once in a lifetime experience for sure.
Thank you very much. I know that we myself and the children have taken a lot from being able to listen to you talk to us today. So I know it's early in the morning for you, but later in the afternoon here. So hopefully you have a good day ahead. And
Adamberry,
yes, for sure.
can you send the recording to me?
I can send you the questions if you like. I'll talk to you later on. I'll talk to Miss Wright because she's not on the call, but I said that I would send the Zoom link for her. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I will see you, my class, online tomorrow, and Miss Wright will see her, and also look out for those assignments. And thank you for joining us this afternoon. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, I was glad to see all of you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.